Speakers. And here to introduce the subject and host our panel, please welcome to the mic Head of Consumer Products for Invest Hong Kong, Angelica Leung. Angelica, thank you. And here for the discussion. We have Wristcheck's founder, Austen Chu, DITOC's founder and managing director, Fung, and head of publications for Retail in Asia, Shireen Lee. Thank you so very much. Welcome.
Super happy to be here. Thanks for joining us today. So this is part of the StartmeupHK Festival, also by Invest Hong Kong. So I head up the consumer products team at Invest Hong Kong. We look after e-commerce, sourcing, and of course, physical retail. So I'll be introducing my guests again, a little bit more detail, and ask them first a question each. And while we're presenting the speakers, we'll be having some visuals at the TV screen behind us, so you get a feel of what they do. So Shireen is the head of publications retail in Asia. It's a free news website, and it's dedicated to the Asian retail industry. It's really quite interesting to read. And in one of your recent publications, you're talking about the concept of hyper-physical. So what is that exactly, and how should retailers and landlords prepare for this trend? Shireen.
It's a really interesting question. Thank you, Angelica. So basically, hyperphysical retail, it's about taking experiential retail to the next level by engaging and creating immersive experiences for consumers, mostly luxury consumers, I would say. So, of course, they're targeting Generation C and even younger generation consumers, as they are basically the aspiring luxury consumers in the retail industry. The idea is that physical stores is no longer just a place for sole purpose of selling items. You don't just expect you don't just calculate the value of a physical store based on its transactional value in store. It's now taking it online. It's about omni-channel. It's about offline to online, online to offline. They all work together. I would say a really interesting example of a hyper-physical store is Burberry's takeover at the Anati Cove Hotel in Busan. What they did is really interesting. They created this whole immersive experience for basically visitors in the hotel. What they did is they basically took over the hotel, and by taking over, I mean they covered the whole hotel in the Burberry TB Summer monogram print. And they covered it basically the whole pool area, the lounge area, the outdoor spaces, the terraces. And when visitors visit the hotel, when they go into the hotel, they can't escape the print. It's everywhere. They see the print when they go for a swim. They see the print when they get a drink at the lounge. They see a print when they're just having breakfast in the lobby. They see it everywhere. And by putting them in this immersive experience, consumers will be interested, even if they never heard of the TB Summer monogram print. They would be like, what is this? And then they realize, oh, it's from Burberry. And then they want to find out more about it. And of course, the fine touch of what Burberry did is they basically built a pop-up store right next to the pool. And of course, it displays all of the TB Summer monogram print collection, ranging from women's wear, children's wear, men's wear. So then when visitors are interested in knowing more about the print, knowing more about the brand, they can also try on the item and of course purchase it at the pop-up store. And that's what hyperphysical experience is all about.
Yeah, so I think a few years back, everyone was talking about omni-channel. So now the next word that we should be thinking about is hyperphysical, right? So anyways, definitely encourage anyone in the retail industry to register for Retail in Asia, for your newsletters. It's a very interesting read. So our next speaker, we have Fung, and he's a real veteran in the industry with 15 years experience in creative content design, digital signage, interactive touchscreens, and actually your projects span worldwide, so you're not just Hong Kong based. So in your opinion, what are consumers looking for when they enter a store, and how consumers would benefit from these in-store technologies?
Yeah, thank you very much. But I think basically most of consumer, when they enter into the shop, they are looking for a personalized shopping experience. And that the shopping experience focused in three phases. Most of the brand they target on it is that the check-in, transaction, and checkout. So if the brand can offer the personalized shopping experience during the check-in time, which means the customer come, they say, welcome, Angelica, how are you? And then once the purchase is done during the transaction, would you like to see the other product? And then the checkout experience, would you like to come back? They give you a loyalty program. So this is kind of the retail industry most of the time. And now with the digital solution design, we add infotainment, edutainment, entertainment, or branding experience into these phrases. So most of my clients, they use this digital solution to target the consumer. They don't know what to buy. Because if you know what to buy, I don't need to target you. You get into the shop, I buy this, and I go home. But they want to target the people they don't know what to buy. And the digital solution can help those consumers to make their own decision. And also to give them the real information about the product, what they're looking for. I have a very simple example. You have a lady that they get into the whiskey shop and they say, I would like to offer a nice bottle of whiskey to my boyfriend or husband, but I don't know what to buy, which year, and the thing like that. And then you have some application that will show this lady, what kind of man you have at home, which age, and then this consumer will self-educate, and at the end, buy the product, go back to home, be happy, give the product to the boyfriend, husband, everybody's happy. And the brand get the organic sales with this new clientele. So this is, I think, what they're looking for, right?
Yeah, when I go into a store, I tend to want to buy everything. I've never had a situation that I didn't know what to buy. So maybe this kind of solution is also good for me that, I mean, I want to buy everything, but I can't buy everything, so I can. So does that also impact on actually how much manpower you need inside the store? I mean, can it reduce a little bit or,
exactly.
complementary to a human salesperson?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so that's, I think, for the brand, you reduce the cost of manpower and you increase the possibility to be seen of your brand and the product as well. And I think we have done a counter for a whiskey brand in Aberdeen, the airport. They increased 80% in the organic sales. It's huge. So that's why most of my clients, they keep doing that because it works.
So thanks, Foster. So Austen, this guy might look familiar. You might have seen him in other publications, might have seen him on TV. But every time he's talking about his watches. And I think this is a rare occasion that we're not talking about watches, right, Austen? Yeah, so you're going to be talking about PropTech today, and you have a thing called the LiDAR wall in your shop in Landmark. But when I was Googling what LiDAR is, which supposedly means laser imaging detection and ranging, right? There's a lot of science websites that pop up for users in geographical mapping, autonomous vehicles, archaeology. So what is this LiDAR wall doing in Landmark, Austen?
I don't know how many of you guys have been to our store. There's actually a video that I think would explain this much clearer. Maybe you guys should watch it first. Would that make sense?
It's 1 minute, 42 seconds. Yeah, you did voice over,
I can
Austen.
voice over. So basically, there's an 8-meter LiDAR screen in our store, and it's completely touch. It's completely activated by touch, and so it's COVID friendly. You don't have to actually touch anything. It senses your touch from about 3 to 5 centimeters away from the glass, and the entire 8-meter screen is activated by this LiDAR tech. And you can actually control all the watches that you see behind the glass by swiping, by controlling it on the screen. And you can actually learn about the history of the watch. Every single watch behind the wall is historically significant in one way, shape, or form. And they are usually watches that you could only see on Instagram. For example, this watch is about 5 million Hong Kong. And it used to be owned by the Sultan of Oman in the 70s. And it's a watch that he gave to, one of his friends. And so basically, in our opinion, we sell expensive watches and we sell watches that typically you aren't able to see in person. And so we want to display watches in the sense that basically put watches in the same sphere as art. And that in our space hasn't typically been done before. And we're actually Hong Kong, at least to my knowledge, Hong Kong's first secondary watch store that ever opened in a mall. They're usually across the harbor, in basements and all of those places. And the reason why we were able to open is because I think we display watches in the way that they deserve to be displayed. And this actually helps as well with basically attracting the next generation of consumer. And if you don't display watches in this type of way, how do you expect to bring in a next generation of consumer that is actually, that you need to make yourself stand out against everyone else that you're in, right? That in the mall. And for us, we're a 2-year-old company. We're next to Louis Vuitton, we're next to Tiffany & Co., we're next to companies like that. And so we really had to think extra hard in order to attract people to come into our store in comparison to, all of our neighbors.
So can you give us maybe a bit of the background, why you thought of using LiDAR wall, where the inspiration comes from?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you guys know about the watch space, but in the past 10 years, it's kind of exploded. A lot of watches that are, for example, 200,000 Hong Kong at retail, they sell for 800,000, 900,000 on the secondary market. And before our store, the typical experience, going on to what Foster is saying, for someone that was looking into buying a secondary watch, they would go to a place in TST, they would see watches laid out like dead fish, they wouldn't really know if the watch was real or fake, but that person is paying 3 to 4 times more than the person that got treated like a king or a queen, that got champagne service on a store in Queens Road Central.
What logic is this, man?
Yeah, and so I thought that didn't make any sense in
Yeah.
any world, and this doesn't make sense in art as well, right? Because if you're looking at the art world, a typical person wouldn't really know if they walk into an art gallery, if this is a secondary art gallery or a primary art gallery. The gallerist is just as professional, it's in just as expensive as a location, and the art is treated with the same respect in the secondary gallery as it's treated in the primary art gallery. But prior to our shop, at least, this has been seldomly done in our space. And so, it's no one looks at a Picasso and says this is a secondary Picasso, a secondhand Picasso. So I view the same thing when you're talking about vintage watches, especially because our AOV is above 1 million Hong Kong. So we really have to invest in creating these immersive experiences to get people to stay in our store. And the reason why our amazing landlords wanted us to open there is also because of our young demographic, right? 50% of our clients are under 35. And after they spend 1 million Hong Kong with us, they will go to the 14 Michelin star restaurants in the Landmark, complex. They will go next door to Louis Vuitton, buy shoes, maybe buy their girlfriend a bag or boyfriend, and yeah, so that's.
So just again, about the LiDAR concept. So how, you could have used other technology. So what particular was about this LiDAR technology that, spoke to you?
So the company we worked with is from Germany, and they typically work with museums. And so I always viewed watches as something that is also something that you can put in museums, right? There are watch museums around the world, and this technology, at least not to my knowledge, hasn't really been used in our space before, at least for a long-term exhibition or display. It's sometimes used for pop-ups or, for like 1 month or like for an event. And so we had to kind of redesign it to make it actually usable for daily use. I mean, when you're running a watch store, you have to do stock take every day. You have to move the watches in and out every single day. And so it's basically making sure that the technology can also withstand daily use, basically, right? But the reason why we use LiDAR again is because no one else is using it, and it's really, really cool. People come in, it's like Minority Report, it's like you're Iron Man or something like that, and for us as well, it's the children, right? Like children come in and they love it. They're in front of our screens for 10, 15 minutes.
And quite soon they're going to say, "Mommy, I want one," right?
Exactly, and that's the whole point, right? It's all about building that lifelong customer.
Get them young, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, back to Shireen. The question for you is, we heard Austen talk a little bit about landlords, and I want to pose a landlord-related question here. So they have this concept of, base rent plus turnover rent, but, we were speaking earlier about this hyper-physical store that, it might not be sales as a priority, it might be experiential as a priority. So, maybe there's a few landlords in the audience. What's your message to them about embracing this hyper-physical trend and, not always looking at the numbers quite so immediately?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. Well, actually, I think as writing on my previous response, I would say physical stores right now is no longer just a place for pure transactional value. It's not just a sole purpose of selling. It's not about that anymore. It's about basically meeting your consumers at any point of their customer journey. It's about when they want to buy an item, they would think about you. Say for example, I don't know if you I don't know if you've had the same feeling as I did. I used to hate it when sales associates just following me around in store. I hate it when they just stay very close to you, want to talk to you. But right now, I think, to be honest, it's not just me, myself. It's according to the Blue Belt Asia Consumer Profile 2022, like we discovered that Japanese consumers, they're really highly acceptive of hyper-physical stores and experiential retail. They want to interact with stores again. They want to interact with brands, and they want to interact with even sales associates again. They're really interested to know more about brands, and that's where brands should take advantage of that, and they can build experiential experiences, remarkable experience for consumers, and just to educate them on the brand's heritage and basically on the brand's craftsmanship and the story behind every single item that they want to sell the consumers. And yep, sorry, back to what I was saying. So what I mean is, when I was but when I'm now in store, I want to interact with the sales associate. I want to talk to the brand again. I want to know, because I couldn't find all the answers that I'm looking forward to find during COVID times. I couldn't find everything online. I want to look at the item. I want to feel it, and if I enjoy the interaction with the sales associate in store, I would go back home and I think, oh, I really like the item that I watched and saw today, but do I really want it? But then on top of that, I'm also thinking, I really enjoy the experience I had in store. I really enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the talk. I now know more about the brand. That's why I go ahead and purchase the item online. It doesn't just happen. Nothing just happens offline, or nothing just happens online anymore. Everything goes hand in hand together. And one perfect example is actually Zalora and Adidas co-hosted a pop-up store in Singapore. It's called Supermart. What they did is really interesting. They basically displayed their whole collaboration in a retail space, and they welcome consumers and basically visitors to just come in and interact with the items that they're interested in, try it on, feel it, take pictures, and of course there are a lot of highly photogenic Instagrammable spots across the space. So they can of course tell their peers about what they see, and if they find anything interesting, they will share on social media. And what's more interesting is that there's a QR code attached to every item in store. People can just scan the QR code and they can instantly purchase the item in the Zalora app, and the item will be delivered to your doorstep in an instant. And I think it's definitely changing what a physical store means to landlords and retailers. I would say, if you're asking for what I would talk to the landlords about, I would say just adapt and evolve and adjust to this mindset. You no longer calculate offline physical stores sales solely attached to what is happening offline. It doesn't just do justice to offline spaces now. I think people just crave for interactions again. They want to feel the items that they're into and purchase it online. So I think it goes hand in hand.
So basically, like it's good for business, but landlords might need to rejig the way that they calculate rents or base rents or how much they're going to charge for a piece of space, to adapt to a new normal. Okay, so Foster. So your business is already very international. Do you see differences in consumer behavior across regions? Say, for example, Europe versus Asia. And how should brands adapt their services and shops to cater to an international audience? Because, many of us know Hong Kong is like a major visitor and international tourist destination. I hope those days will come back quite soon. So, when, especially a retailer in Hong Kong, they should have an international mindset, especially I know you do a lot of work with the duty frees and stuff like that. So maybe share a bit on that.
Yeah, actually, of course, there's some difference in terms of the shopping behavior between different countries in the region. Let's say all those brands, all our clients, they have a different bestseller in each country. Let's say in Korea, it's Valentine. In China, it's Martell. Hong Kong is Absolute, for example. So when we launch global activation for a brand, we have to design different version of this application. We have to adapt locally the message but without changing the layout design. This is the most important part, because they need to keep the marketing design globally at the same, right? So yeah, that's a lot of difference. And also for the local shop in Hong Kong, as you mentioned, Hong Kong is the international city, and we already have a lot of people from different nationality living here, right? Or most of people also they come here to transit or visiting. So what I did for one of the project in the Hong Kong airport, it's we asked our clients duty free to create different kind of content from different kind of a language. And then we asked the salesperson, you see the group of Korean people, change to the Korean message. Afternoon, you have some people from UK, change to the UK message. And the other day, change to the Dubai message. And this is what I call how to adapt locally the message, but to an international audience. And this is very interesting for the consumer. For the check-in time, the consumer get into shop and they feel like home. Like a Japanese, yokoso, and then sakura. It's nice, right? Already you win 20%. And the most important thing is more time you keep your client in the shop, more chance they will purchase, right? This is the rules exactly. So.
I think this is the same concept with the hyperphysical and with the LiDAR wall. You
Yeah.
want them to play, you want them to experience, you want them to have fun. They don't want to leave,
Yes.
they just want to go and
Yeah, exactly.
Post it on Instagram.
Instagram as well, absolutely.
So the most important thing is what I always say to our clients, that very efficient and simple CMS to control what you have installed, what kind of message to
CMM
deliver.
is content
management system.
Yep.
Sorry, yes.
Yep.
And this is how you can increase the shopping experience and increase the organic sales. That's it. So.
Yeah. So are there any industry that are particularly benefiting from in-store technology? You do a lot of wine and spirits. You also do cosmetics,
Yeah.
Why particularly these two industries?
Because I think the industry they which benefit from this in-store technology is luxury brands. Actually, in our most of our client is the luxury cosmetic brand, and also the beverage. I'm not in the watch, not yet. We just signed with Cartier. Yes, right. Okay. I forgot.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because they are in terms of budget, they can afford it first, and secondly, they are eager to be avant-gardist, to into the retail design. I think Hong Kong has this really advantage because of the multinationality resident people visiting and transiting. Most of our clients, they build their first flagship in Hong Kong to test the market. This is true. So, this is the fact. For the past 15 years, we've been working a lot of flagship. So I think Hong Kong has this real advantage in terms of the strategy for the client and also the sales forecast. So, yeah.
Thanks so much. So going back to Austen, also following from Foster's comment, your flagship is also in Hong Kong, right? This is the first place you set up as well. So, that gels. And I think even from the whole panel, we're very international. Foster has some Frenchness, Austen some Shanghainese-ness in it. Shireen is, and I'm from Canada a bit. So okay, I have another question from you, Austen. So, what new retail technologies are you looking at now? What's out there that really making you curious and excited for the next big thing?
I think I resonate a lot with what Foster said, which is really about trying to keep your customers in store for as long as possible. And a lot of what we're looking at might not necessarily be tech related. As you mentioned, Wristcheck, our store in Hong Kong, is our first store. And so our next store is going to be much better than our first store because it was, again, our first store, right? And a lot of what we've noticed, obviously the LiDAR, a lot of the technology is, at least from what we've been doing, it's kind of like the initial point of attention, right? It's like how you draw people in. And that's the initial point of contact. That's how they, learn about what we do. But then a lot of our space is also very modular. We can open and close it how we want. We have a VIP room that is completely closed off, and people spend, literally hours there, drinking highballs, buying watches, and that's exactly what we want to do. And so in our future locations, it's more about creating more of these smaller modular spaces and fitting that in one location, because at least for our business, because it's high order value, right? We think that that's very important. And in Asia as well, privacy is also very important when making big purchases. And I'm sure when we expand into mainland China, that's going to be even more so. And so it's all of these, it's tweaking. But in terms of looking into technology, it's really about merging online with offline with more call to action points offline in the store, whether it's, through the use of QR codes or through the use of, LiDAR, and having call to action stuff on the LiDAR that can eventually take you online. But at the end of
Can
the
you specify what do you mean by call to action? What are you like?
No, I mean,
click here
or just scan
scan
here,
here.
or do this, do that, right? Or like when our customers walk into the store, the first thing that we do for new customers is we give them an iPad, right? They fill in their information, sign up, and it's all about, CRM and getting all of that, right? But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at technologies, in our next location, it's probably also about implementing LiDAR, but instead of it being in-store, I want the LiDAR to be outside of the store, and so people can actually control stuff without even stepping in. And so that's kind of what we also want to do. And then they'll be like, oh, that's interesting, and then they'll walk in, and there's more experiences inside.
Austen, can I also ask you to share a little bit of how you use your IG account to gel the whole thing together as well?
I mean, it was more in the beginning, right? Like, to start the business, I had to really leverage my Instagram account, but I think over the past 6 months, it's kind of started to live on its own. I mean, if you're looking at our sales in the past month, it has mainly been completely independent of myself. Whereas, the first 6-7 months of the business, of course, I had to leverage my own Instagram, because if I didn't, then I would be really stupid. And so I think, yeah, it's important in the beginning, but I think, again, it's like I'm trying to build something that will live much longer than myself, and so it's not really about my Instagram.
Hey, that's a long time to go, right? That's still extended future.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then another question back to Foster. What's new in your space? What do you see coming up? What should the audience be looking for?
What's new? Actually, yeah, what we are thinking, actually we're seeing, not thinking, from the current travel retail industry. Most of the duty-free shop, now people, the consumer, they get into the shop, they buy the product, and then the duty-free shop will send this product at the airport, and then they will pick it up. And those guys, they are pretty convenient, right? I don't need to carry. So actually, most of the brand now, they are start to thinking about this, because have the physical retail shop, they have the problem about the product inventory, and also the product supply logistic. They say, this is really hassling. So what we are promoting now is we try to turn the shop into the retail, into the demo showroom. So which means the consumer can still get into the shop, grab the product, test it, smell it, taste it, whatever. And then this is the check-in transaction, and then you have all those applications to entertain the user, and let the user to self-educate about the product, branding, etc., etc. And during the transaction, you have another entertainment to for the consumer to be entertained. And at the end, at the checkout time, you have this loyalty program. Ask the customer to fill up the form, your email address, telephone. In exchange, you have another coupon for the next purchase. You have 10% discount, for example. And then at the end, after the checkout, the customer go home. 2 days later, the goods delivered to your home. This is fantastic. Actually, I'm looking for that as well, if possible. And for my opinion, this is the future of the retail shop. That would be like that. So. Actually, most of the some of the LVMH shop they're practicing this kind of operation already in Europe.
So, in your opinion, what is the sort of why are not more retailers using digital technologies in store, Foster?
Because lack of knowledge, a lack of confidence, a lack of information about the digital equipment cost. I always talk to my client, do you know why you don't turn the shop into the digital shop? The guy said, how much is it? I don't know how much you want to invest. So they cannot imagine how much, but if I can tell my client, if you invest $1 million US, I guarantee you can get back 5. The guy say, immediately, now. I sign, where, right?
Yeah. So Austen, did you have that going through? You know, how much am I investing? Or you just say, let's do it?
I mean, it was very, we opened September 1st, 2021, right? And so when we signed our lease, I think it was in April, there wasn't even a vaccine in Hong Kong yet. And when we did that, everyone called me stupid, literally. I don't think there was a single person around me besides my business partner that said it was a good idea to open a store. But obviously I ignored everyone and did it. And it was obviously like, don't regret it in any way, shape, or form. But
was cost ever in your mind?
Of course, cost is always every day in my mind, right? Like that's the most. It's important, but the thing is, like for us, for what I wanted to do is kind of like my vision, right? And so like it cost X amount, and I've never done a store before, and there wasn't anything in my space or in my niche that was doing something along those lines, and so for me, it was just. You know, I'm young. If I'm gonna do something like this, I would do it now and risk everything, right? But in hindsight, it was the right decision. But obviously, cost is something that I do understand why. You know, my business partner was really mad as well when I proposed like spending a lot of money on doing that. But
he says you're a smart guy now, right?
I mean, sometimes, but sometimes, but I just think like it's a necessary thing that you have to do because the next generation as well, especially if you want to attract Gen Z people. Gen Z, they've been around. Most of their lives are with technology than without, right?
Yeah.
And so for them, it's like when you're walking into a store, if there isn't anything that they could immediately link to their phone or something, it becomes, you're already starting 50 meters behind the start line, in my opinion. And so for us as well, like with our QR codes in our store, with all of the products, when they scan, just like as Foster said and as you said, and Shireen, like some people hate having sales associates speak to you. Some people love it. And in order to combat that, if you don't want to speak to someone, that's fine. You scan a QR code. If you want to learn about this watch, it will take you to the site. You can learn about the history. You can look at all the detailed photos, learn about all of that yourself. But if you want to speak to someone, then you can speak to one of our watch specialists who, you know, are either trained from Christie, Sotheby's, or Phillips, or, you know, were from other watch platforms before. And so that's, yeah, but if you're talking about investment in tech, like I think it's necessary. But the point really isn't about, in my opinion, trying to do the coolest, latest thing. It's about.
But you are doing the coolest latest thing, right? No.
But that's not the.
Just happens to be, right?
That's not the point. The point is to really just give customers options and give Gen Z an easy way to enter your ecosystem, whether you're a brand or whether you're selling other brands. And it's about capturing data, and it's about capturing their email, their phone number, their name, their age, or guessing their age, and then you can target them better next time they come into the store, right? It's about that. It's not really about LiDAR, in my opinion. Like the LiDAR stuff is really cool, but that's not the thing that I think will allow us to expand, to many other markets. It's the more softer tech stuff. But yeah, tech is extremely important. I think it's key.
Okay, so now we have a video to show you, and this video is with Retail in Asia's latest event. It's called Upstarts, and it's the first award dedicated to homegrown retail players. And a little disclaimer here, Invest Hong Kong is also a sponsor of this event. So maybe if we can have the video, and then we can have Shireen talk a little bit about this upcoming event as well.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to promote about the Upstarts Awards. So I hope the name itself suggests, so it's basically a platform for startups in Asia to basically meet and greet each other, greet the new retail players in the industry. And it's a place for you to amplify your brand, to motivate your team members, and of course to build really precious networking opportunities with retail in Asia community members, and even with the prestigious lineup of sponsors and partners, and which our sponsors include Alipay Plus, IWD, which is retail service provider, Bluebell Group, and of course, InvestHK. And I would like to give a quick update on the status of the Upstarts Awards right now. So we've already closed the entry submission for startups. We've received many interesting applications, and we're now entering the next stage of the first round of judging. So we're very honored to have basically the biggest names across the retail industries to join us on this judging panel. We have people from DFS, we have people from Bluebell Group, we have people from Gusto Lux, from Keelan, from Salvatore Ferragamo. So we have basically the biggest names you can name in the retail industry. And now they're basically judging from the really extensive experience, judging the all the entries that they received for the startups in Asia and the business models and everything. And then at the end, we're going to host a hybrid event, which is going to be online and offline in Hong Kong. And it will be elevator pitch from the startups in Asia. And then on site.
People sign up to attend for that one?
Yes, of course. Please follow Retail in Asia's social media platforms and our website for more details. And then we'll lead you to the registration link. Don't worry.
So I hope this has been a fruitful panel for everyone joining us either online or here in person. So thanks again to Austen, Shireen, and Foster for your information sharing. And please do follow them on LinkedIn. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.